Making a profit. This presentation is going to look at the concept of profit and why it's important for businesses to make a profit. There are two different types of profit that exist in a business. One is gross profit and one is net profit. And you need to understand the difference between both of these to understand this concept of business to the best of your ability. So gross profit. Gross profit is the largest profit that a business makes. Think of the word gross as meaning large. So if you are grotesquely obese, it's the biggest one that you make. Now you calculate your gross profit by taking your revenue away from your cost of sales. Now gross profit is calculated when you make the amount of money you make on each item you sell. So this is the profit made from selling a product after you take away your costs. So let's look at an example so it makes more sense. So a can of Coke costs 30p to buy from the wholesaler, so the person who sells it to my shop. I sell each can of Coke to the customer for £1. So my gross profit in this example is going to be 70p because it cost me 30p to buy the can and my revenue is £1, so my cost of sales is 30p, my revenue is £1. That gives me 70p gross profit. Now the cost of sales, like I say, is the cost of buying or manufacturing each item. Now it's important to note at this point here that if we have a negative gross profit, then something is wrong. That means we're losing money on every item we sell. An example would be that if, for example, I was to sell each can of Coke for 20p, so I buy them for 30p, so my cost of sales is 30p, but my revenue is only 20p, that means I'm making a loss of 10p. That's not sustainable as a business. It may work in the short term, maybe as a loss leader to get people interested in buying products, but it's not going to work in the long term. So hopefully you understand gross profit now. Let's have a look at net profit. Net profit is the smaller profit that a business makes. Now this profit is calculated after your gross profit and it takes into account all the business costs. So the formula to calculate this is revenue minus all costs. Or it could be your gross profit minus your expenditure, so your other costs in other words, or your fixed costs. Now this is the profit you make when you sold a product and all the costs have been taken away. So this is typically the one you get to take home with you. So let's look at an example using my shop again. So on my stall we sell cans of Coke for £1 each. And as we know already, I've got the following costs. So my cost of sales are 30p for each can. I've also got my rent I have to pay of £20 and I also pay wages of £40. So I'm going to ask the question now, if we sell 100 cans, what is our net profit? So what am I going to make in my net profit? How much do I get to take home? So let's break it down into smaller steps. Let's calculate my gross profit first. So I sell each can at £1 and I sell 100 of them. So I'm going to find my revenue. So £1 times 100 is £100. Now let's find my cost of sales. Each can costs 30p. I sell 100 cans, so 30p times 100 is £30. So £100 in revenue minus £30 in cost of sales gives me £70 gross profit. So I'm making £70 in gross profit. However, now I need to take away my other costs. So I've got to take away my rent and my wages. So my £70 minus my £20 plus my £40, which means £70 minus £60, which means I make £10 net profit. Now this is the final profit or loss that I get to take home and keep. So hopefully in this case here I get to take £10 home to keep. At this point now I may get some tax on it, but it's my money to keep, so that's my profit. So what does it actually mean? Well, if a business is making a loss at the gross profit stage, then something is seriously wrong. You've got two options. You either increase your selling price so you can charge more for your product, but you've got to be careful about that because how does that impact on your competition? Or you reduce the cost of sales so you find a new supplier or somebody sell it cheaper to you. Of course, if the business is making a loss at the net profit stage, then it's got two options again. It could either increase its gross profit, so it could do one of the two options above, so either increase the selling price or reduce the cost of sales, or maybe do both. Or it could try and reduce its other expenses, its overheads, so it could find a cheaper way of doing things and its costs. So it's really important to know about your profits and also be able to take strategies and decisions to be able to improve them in the long term. Okay, that's it. You should now be able to define, understand and be able to calculate the gross and net profit margins. You should also be able to explain how these impact on a business organisation. Don't forget you can follow me on my Twitter account, it's at BeeBusinessBee. Subscribe to my YouTube channel and you can tweet me any areas of business you want me to cover in the future. And don't forget to visit my website, it's BeeBusinessBee.co.uk.